Hi, this is Russ Ballard, and you're listening to the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world listening to our podcast. This is the Voices of Russ Ballard, and I'm Ian.
And I'm Sven. Hello, folks.
Good morning, Sven.
On the airwaves.
Guten Morgen, meine Herr.
Guten Morgen. I don't know any Portuguese word for the moment, but hey, good morning.
Bom dia. Bom dia is fine. Bom dia. So we've had a little bit of a summer break, and obviously we have got a fantastic guest this morning, haven't we, Sven?
Yes. Yes, it's very spectacular.
It's been difficult to sleep the last few days, actually, thinking about what we can ask this gentleman, because it's so much to ask.
I've never spoken to anybody who's member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh
shit! I think I said too much. But anyway,
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Who is our guest? You know, I will open the door to my backyard in a few minutes. There are thousands of people who want to spend a round of applause to our today's guest. So, right. Who is it?
Well, listen, this is my intro. Ladies and gentlemen, it's definitely summertime, but that's normal, as it is the time of the season after all. And after so much negativity around COVID, understandably, we're all going out of our head. We hope that this will be our year. So here on the Voices of Russ Ballard, the way I feel inside is very, very excited. So whenever you're ready, ladies and gentlemen, the very wonderful Mr. Chris White, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, I'm Chris White, and you're listening to the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Chris. Very warm welcome. It's great to have you along. I hope you recognised a couple of the songs there.
I did. All of them, in fact.
That's right.
Like the history of our recordings.
Well, I must say you're looking very well and extremely well. You know, for the time of year and everything else, you're looking at least 20 years younger. Is that fine? Is that okay to say that?
Yeah, I'm 15 now.
and there's an odd, for those of you, what you can't see, but behind you is a lovely poster of the Odessey and Oracle album cover as well, which is excellent. Is that an original? That's not the original, is it? By Terry?
Terry, we moved down here to Salisbury because Terry moved down here, and we had plans because we were going to start the musical about the recording of Odessey and Oracle.
Right.
And then, sorry, my partner, he died 2 weeks before we got here. So,
what a shame.
Memory of him, really. But he was the original. We shared a flat with Rod Argent, and in the 60s.
Yes.
It goes quite. It's nice to have his work around the house,
And I think he did we still got the Hunger album cover as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Still got that, if I said that correctly. Anyway, listen, it's fantastic to have you. Hello, welcome to everybody on board. And we're going to kick off with Sven. Sven, over to you.
Yeah, yes, please. Let's kick off the show for today. So it's great to have you on board, Chris. Lovely to see you. We have prepared. We've done our homework. We prepared some questions, and it will be a little similar to what we've done with other guests before. Let's start talking about the early days. So let's talk about the beginning. Growing up in Hertfordshire, your father Harold was a musician, right?
That's correct. He was, yeah. But no, he was a part-time musician. He started off as a bus inspector. Then we moved out to the countryside, and he became a general store owner. And he played part-time. He played upright double bass and guitar.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you come from a musical family.
Yes. I actually spoke to my uncle Ted before he got to 100 years old, but then he basically was an arranger for the BBC and on big bands and everything. And he just told me that they used to have family gatherings where he would play saxophone, my father played double bass, my sister would play piano, and my mother played violin, which I never knew, but he said very well.
Wow, that's interesting to hear. When did you start your musical life? What was the instrument you picked first?
Guitar.
Oh
yeah, basically.
And you still stick with the guitar? I see it in the background.
Yeah, well, I'm bass guitar basically. So.
Is it? I heard something. I just want to make sure if this is correct. Is it correct that you met all the original Zombies members at St. Albans Grammar School? Who was the first one you met?
No, actually, I was 2 years older than most of the Zombies. Colin was at grammar school with me. Rod, Hugh, and Paul were at the other school in St Albans. I forgot what it's called now. Anyway, we were in the grammar school and they were in the other school. And it was by coincidence that I was asked to join when their bass player, Paul Arnold, they caught him playing some song with one hand in the pocket because it was an open string. So he wanted to concentrate on being a doctor. I'm a bit worried about him now.
And he's probably looking back as well, going, "Oh my God, I missed out on that."
No, actually, he was the one who suggested. Apparently, before I joined, 18 months after they started, he was the one who suggested the name Zombies, and nobody knew what it was all about because Zombies weren't a fashionable thing at that time. And they tried all the different names, a bit like Spinal Tap, but other groups had the name already. So it was only a temporary name, the Zombies.
So jumping forward a little bit then, Chris, I understand it all started in earnest, you could say, with a talent contest in 1963, imaginatively called Heart's Beat, which I think is really good. Is that true? Is that what it was called?
It was Hertfordshire, you see. That's why it was called.
Exactly. Yes. And
we, as we were going to split up, 2 or 3 of the members were going to college or something. I'd been at art college for 4 years and I was going to train as a teacher. But we thought, well, as a last go, we'll enter this competition. And then we accidentally won it.
Accidentally won it. Yeah, as you do.
Yeah.
As one does. And when the prize for winning that competition, as I understand, was a record contract with Decca Records, no less.
Well, yes, that was the prize, but we didn't sign that contract. We actually, as I said, my uncle was a producer called Ken Jones, and we went to him for advice because we had all these contracts offered to us. And he went through them and saying, that's a good clause, that's a bad clause, that's that. And then we asked him, well, can you offer us anything? He said, I'll give you all the best clauses. So we ended up signing with him and publishing and producing. And he said, well, be good if first session is if you write your own couple of songs. And that's when Rod started writing and I started writing. And it came out of that was She's Not There was the first really commercial song that Rod wrote.
At age 16, am I right?
No, I think he was 18. I'm not sure.
18.
Yeah,
maybe 18.
Yeah, maybe.
I remember Russ saying on stage when he was introducing, I think he was introducing when Argent reformed and did the Victoria Park Festival. I remember him saying, when introducing Rod and saying, Rod wrote that song at 16. They didn't have a recording contract, so he went out and wrote She's Not There.
Maybe he might. I don't know, but I remember he's got this idea for a song.
So perhaps we should play that now.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. Well, no one told me about her. What could I do? Well, no one told me about her, though they all knew. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
Okay, so moving on from She's Not There, which is, you know, always everybody sings along to that. It's just a great song. You mentioned about you replaced the Zombies' original bass player, and became, it's fair to say, the band's main songwriter with Rod Argent. And let's talk about the Begin Here album. If I'm not mistaken, you wrote 3 tracks on there. The album is a mixture of covers and compositions by you and Rod. Tell us a little bit about your memories of the debut album, the Begin Here album, if you would.
Oh yes, in those days it was the idea if you had a hit single, you did an album and covered songs that you did on stage. I don't know whether you knew the first story about the first recording of She's Not There. We went to Decca Studio in London, and it was recorded at night then. But unfortunately, the engineer had been at a wedding all day and was really drunk out of his mind, very abusive. And I remember Colin saying, basically, if this is going to be what we're doing, rock and roll, what we're going to be doing in studios, I think I don't want it anymore, because he was abusive. And it was only on 4-track recording in those days, don't forget. But then the engineer fainted. So we had to carry him out of the studio, up the stairs, everyone on one leg each, you know. And then the assistant engineer, the tape op, took over, and he was new to the job. His name was Gus Dudgeon. So not only was it our first recording, it was Gus Dudgeon's, which we remained friends with until he died years later.
Of course, famous for Elton John, of course, and
yeah.
And I think that's how Colin links up with Rocket Records, because
Yes,
I think
yeah.
Gus Dudgeon.
Yeah.
Amazing. What's your favourite track on Begin Here?
It has to be She's Not There, because really, I mean, it's the one that made us to be quite.
Right. And you wrote, I Can't Make Up My Mind, I Don't Want to Know, and What More Can I Do on that album?
You're reminding me, because my memory's not what it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's all right. And what's your favourite track of those 3 of your compositions from that first album? Do you have any one that sticks in your mind? What's the one you're particularly pleased with, even though all these years later listening to?
I can't remember which one I liked the most. The whole thing was enjoying the recording session, you know, and finding out about recording. See, one of the problems in the days why Rod and I started doing our own production is the fact is we weren't ever allowed to be there at the mixes. That was standard practice in the 60s. So when we started, we wanted to produce ourselves, and that's when we started being producers. After, you know, when the Zombies are finished.
It's so interesting to see you all were so young guys all of a sudden standing in a recording studio trying to record the first single, not knowing will somebody like our music, and then you come up with She's Not There.
Yeah.
It's a bit like winning the lottery.
Yes, it was exactly like that. Others gave up going to college. I gave up going to training in college for being an art teacher. And we went, our first trip, we was in the middle of the 64. Christmas 64, we were in New York playing the Murray the K's Brooklyn Fox with all the acts, Benny King, you know, the Shangri-Las, and so many people, our heroes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite a change.
And so
it's funny. Sorry, I just got a supplementary question. I was thinking as you were talking there about your producer passing out. I remember Rod saying he probably wished the producer had passed out on Indication, because they used to play Indication in the early Zombies days with Rod and Colin effectively, and obviously Jim and Steve, etc. But I remember them playing a great version of Indication on stage where Rod, you know, really does get his rocks off, and plays it the way he would like to have played it back in the day. Did he remember he's saying that the producer didn't have, basically bottled it, I think was the phrase.
Just put the guitar phrase up louder and louder. It's Rod's solo, basically.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning, and Begin Here is was great beginning. You try to find yourself within the group, Dan, within the Zombies. Did you have any master plan of writing an album like Odessey and Oracle then? I mean, after Begin Here, so album was recorded, you found yourself in the middle of a band, and it looks like your chemistry within the band was brilliant. You came up with great songs on the first album, but then is it fair to say that the Zombies output during this time, so after Begin Here, was sparse?
Yes, it was sparse. We did several singles which didn't succeed. In fact, we nearly had to split up because we weren't getting work here, because in those times there was no internet, so we didn't know we actually had hits around the world. But in '67, we went to our manager, who we found out later certainly ripped us off like all managers do, and basically we said, have we any work? Because Rod and I had some income because we were writers, but the others didn't. Paul was getting married, so he said, yes, I can give you work in Manila for 10 days. He said, £100 a night. We said each. He said, no, between you, which meant that was his 25% meant we were earning £18 a night. And we thought we were playing in a hotel foyer. But it turned out, as we arrived there at 3 o'clock in the morning, there'd be thousands of kids there, and we had 2 or 3 records in the top 20 in the Philippines.
Really?
Then they drove us overnight in a cavalcade, like 3 o'clock in the morning, because they were going to pay for everything. They can pay for the hotel, the equipment, airfares, everything. And we arrived at this great big building. We said, what's this? He said, this is where you're going to be staying. It was the Araneta Coliseum, which was the second biggest Astrodome in the world next to Houston. And we were playing to 30,000 people a night for 10 days.
You're kidding.
For £18 each. And he had his own private army, so we weren't allowed to leave because it was under dictatorship then. And then we came back from the Philippines with no manager, no money, and no record contract because Decca had dropped us at that stage. So then Rod and I decided we wanted to produce and do it ourselves. You know, that's how we did Odessey and Oracle.
Wow. Sven, do we have any listeners in the Philippines? Can you remember? Was that one of our countries?
For sure.
For
sure. We have listeners around the world. This is the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast with the wonderful Chris White.
Exactly. If anybody's listening to this that was at that gig in the Philippines, out in the Philippines, please get in touch. We'd love to hear you. It's the Facebook group is called the Voices of Russ Ballard, and you can find Sven and I on there. We'd love to hear from you. Chris would probably love to hear from you as well. That's an amazing story. I mean, they love their music, the Filipinos.
I do, and I know that Rod and Colin have been back since to great productions, you know. So there was no back; it was just the management that were the
No, exactly. No, they're lovely people. I worked with some of them in Dubai when I worked out in the Middle East, and they're lovely people. So, and as I say, they're absolutely fanatical when it comes to their music.
Yeah.
I think it is really amazing. So the first couple of years as the Zombies, what happened in your life wasn't the same as it was 3-4 years ago.
Definitely
and you play in front of thousands and thousands of people without knowing that this would happen, which is really good fun.
I thought you were playing in the foyer.
That leaves you speechless, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, it's a surprise to us, but life is a surprise, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about us being a 60s band is we still like each other, which is a rarity for 60s bands nowadays. We recently been touring with some of them. They stay in different hotels. They don't like each other that much, you know.
I remember, it's funny, you saying that. I remember reading an interview with Rod, I think, when they probably just did the sort of reformation of the Zombies name as it is nowadays, saying that he was listening back to some of probably Odessey Oracle and some of the stuff and saying, well, actually he called you and said how wonderful your bass playing was and how powerful it sounded through the headphones. Is that right?
Yeah,
Have I got that right?
That is right. He did call me up and say, I've just been listening to the box set it was then, and said, I just want to say how great you were playing. And that's the first time he said it.
Yeah. As probably the Zombie Heaven, because that was the first box set that came out, the Zombie Heaven one. I still have that, and I think that takes a lot of beating. I know there's obviously lots of good stuff that all Zombies fans should still go out and buy, but that one is particularly good. Before we touch on Odessey and Oracle, which I'm very lucky enough to have been nominated to ask you about, Chris, I just got one last thing. You're talking about that sort of sparse working period. Bunny Lake is Missing. That's a film, for those of you thinking, what the hell is Ian talking about? As I understand it, it's a film. And when I used, again, looking at the incarnation of the band now, there's a song called Just Out of Reach. Written by Colin, I think, and they used to sort of do that right towards the end of the show. So you all became movie stars, didn't you, for a little bit? So that wasn't too bad.
Well, we were pulled off a tour to do. We had 3 days filming with Otto Preminger, and then when we saw the film came out, it was co-building with Laurence Olivier and some Coeur d'Alene and the Zombies, and in the end, we ended up appearing as on a TV set, on a TV thing behind a bar, you know, while Laurence Olivier was talking. And then Otto Preminger got Colin to sing the song again called Come On Time, because the idea in that film was that you couldn't get in after the film started. And so that's where we did a song called Come On Time, which was ridiculous.
Brilliant. It's funny, you see lots of Zombies fans walking around with the soundtrack. I've seen them getting Colin to sign and stuff like that over the years. It must be pretty hard to come about. So listen, on to Odessey and Oracle. Where the hell do we start? I actually remember hearing you on the Kenny Everett show back in the day, and honestly, I can say I got a feeling that his show was Saturday lunchtime, but I couldn't swear on it. But I always used to listen to him. It could have been the Capital show then, but I know that he did the jingle, or you did the jingle for him, or
that's right. Yes, we did it. And he said, "Well, I see singing out of tune has come into fashion." He said,
yeah, did he? He was amazing, that guy. But you know,
wonderful guy.
A wonderful guy, and he loved the album, as we all obviously all do. But so let's talk about that specifically. You wrote just over half the songs on the album, 7 songs.
That's right.
And I remember the early Rod and Colin gigs where they used to play Time in the Season. I think they played Carousel 44 as well. But then they started to move forward and say, right, okay, we're gonna start to play some more numbers from Odessey and Oracle, and they played Beechwood Park.
Do you remember summer days just after summer rain, when all the air was damp and warm in the green of country lanes, and the breeze would touch your hair, kiss your face and make you care about your world, your summer world, and we would count the evening stars as the day grew dark in Beechwood Park. Do you remember golden days and golden summer sun, the sound of laughter in our ears in the breeze as we would run, and the breeze would touch your hair, kiss your face and make you care about your world, your summer world, and we would count the evening stars as the day grew dark in Beechwood Park. All roads in my mind take me back in my mind, and I can't forget you, won't forget you, won't forget those days. And the breeze would touch your hair, kiss your face and make you care about your world, your summer world, and we would count the evening stars as the day grew dark in Beechwood Park. All roads in my mind take me back in my mind, and I can't forget you, won't forget you, won't forget those days and Beechwood Park.
And this will be our year. And of course, the rest is history, because then they reformed the original Zombies and I think I was lucky enough to go to at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, if I'm not mistaken. The first ones, I think, in 2008. So how did it feel when Rod or Colin or both of them first asked you to recreate the album in its entirety at those shows, and obviously subsequently, but that first time in particular?
Well, Rod, we were still in contact because we worked up at his studio sometime. But basically, he said, perhaps you can come in for a couple of songs, a couple of numbers, because actually behind it all, he said, I hadn't played on stage for 30 years. So basically, they didn't know whether Hugh and I were capable enough. But then behind his back, Hugh and I rehearsed the songs over and over again for months on end.
Brilliant.
And then we went up to see Rod's studio with Colin there, and we knew far more about the album than they did. We were very surprised because we played it live with them, And the idea was just us to come on for a few numbers. But then Kathy, his wife, said when we did it at Shepherd's Bush, everybody coming in just to do Odessey and Oracle was the best way, because it was a whole section. It was a history. And because Rod always, like I do, always wanted to be in the future. We like to do stuff from the past, but in new things, because music is so important. Yeah,
exactly. And in the first half, they did Argent and Colin songs and some various bits and pieces in the second half. And I remember seeing Viv standing at the back with Jim Rodford on backing vocals. I think if I'm not mistaken. So brilliant shows, and I had goosebumps. I was standing at the top of looking down. But anyway, let's talk about you. So some questions, if we may, about Odessey and Oracle. What is your favorite track on Odessey and Oracle?
Got to think on this one, Kev, because I like them all. My favourite track is "I Want a Dream." That one, that's my favourite. To play on stage is fantastic. You know?
Yeah. Title of a book as well. There's a book about the zombies called "Hung Up on a Dream." I've got somewhere. So
try to ask a similar question. Not what is your favorite track, but what is the track you wished you had written on Odessey Oracle?
Oh, blimey. Well, as I wrote most of them, actually. I mean, Rod and I are totally different styles, but we actually worked together very well.
Yeah, you did.
Which one? In fact, when the Zombies did finally split, because Odessey and Oracle wasn't successful, is that Rod suggested to me, which was to his credit, he said, let's put our joint names on everything we write, because if we have one hit, we can afford to keep going. And that was so generous of him. And of course, then the next hit we had was Hold Your Head Up, which I wrote. And I've never regretted a minute of it, because
excellent.
He's so generous.
Excellent. You just said, okay, Odessey and Oracle wasn't a hit. It was not successful.
No.
Not first time round. Yeah.
No. Then all of a sudden,
yeah.
18 months later, that time of the season was a hit in America, and we'd split up.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy. let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? He rich. Is he rich like me? Has he take us anytime to show you what you need to live? Tell it to me slowly. Tell you why I really want to know. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? He rich. Is he rich like me? Has he taken anytime to show you what you need to live? Tell it to me slowly. Tell you why I really want to know. It's the time of the season for loving.
Why was that? Can you remember who played the single that was a big hit? I mean, 18 months later, it is a bit late to regret, okay, we split up after Odessey and Oracle, because none of you had any idea that this will be a big hit 1.5 years later. It's so sad.
Well, we were told a story. There was one DJ in Boise, Idaho, which loved the track and kept playing it, and they sold 6 copies. And then CBS, the studio was, as then in New York, said they put all their strength in advertising and everything like that. And then that became a hit because these one DJ in Boise, Idaho. In fact, they found him recently. I can't remember his name.
Ken Stott, I think.
Ken Stott, was it? Okay.
Wow. Brilliant. Yeah,
that's very interesting. You became, or you had a big hit then in the States. And I heard a similar story years and years and years and years later. The same happened with the Swedish band Roxette. They were not successful all over the world, only in Sweden. And the US DJ played the song "The Look" because somebody brought it from vacation to the States. 2 weeks later, they had a #1 hit on the Billboard 100. That's life. You just need one person helping you, but the zombies were over and out then.
Yeah.
Did you ever thought about, okay, let's regroup, let's record something?
No, because Rod wanted to continue. I was going to be producing and writing with him, and we were putting together a group which became Argent. and that's when we met Russ and Bob Henrit. In fact, we were looking for a drummer. There's a lovely story of this. We were looking for a drummer, and Jim Rodford said, well, I played with this guy called Bob Henrit. It's good. Rod and I said, we'd better go along, and I'd like to see him. And we went along to see Unit 4+2, because that's when Russ and Bob were playing with them. And we thought we'd sneak in the back and see what they like, but there's hardly anyone there. So the first thing they noticed that Rod and I came in.
Brilliant.
And it's like funny, we were actually coming to steal their drummer, basically. And we asked Bob to join. And he said, have you thought about Russ? So we watched Russ, and of course, that was how they joined Argent.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to be asking you lots of Argent questions. Don't worry, we have those up our sleeve. But I think in terms of a question, well, so actually Sven's got a question about the Zombies coming to an end, and your work, the where you decided to go after the Zombies broke up. Sven?
Oh yeah. So we've just spoken about the Zombies came to an end, and what started first for you, Chris? Was it producing Argent or Colin Blunstone?
Argent, first of all.
Really?
Colin was then recording under the name of Neil MacArthur, because he couldn't use his old name because of the contract, his singing contract. So I took him along to a rehearsal when we were rehearsing Argent, and Rod and I said to him, why don't you let us produce you now? We can get you a deal. So but we were recording Argent, but then we suggested to Colin, and he slowly accepted. Colin takes a little while to make up his mind. And then that's when we did 1 year.
Now I'm doing some finding, so say don't mind, you let me off this time. To you I'm blind, something inside, say you don't mind.
It's amazing, because back in that day when I first got into Argent, which was, kind of around the in deep ring of hands in deep, you found yourself buying Colin Blunstone albums and Argent albums, and looking at the writers and looking at the producers and the songwriters, and seeing this parallel was brilliant. And so the fact that the band were playing on that was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I've got a question that I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, Chris. So this might be quite interesting. Now, obviously, Rod formed Argent after the Zombies, and there is no doubt you are the fifth member of Argent. There's no debate on that, as far as I'm concerned. Argent t-shirt. But I think my question is it would have made sense, perhaps, for you to have played bass in the new Argent lineup. Why didn't you play bass in the band? Now, I know there was this wonderful chap called Jim Rodford around, who we all love, and he is a great bass player. But I just wondered, were you ever asked to join Argent, and perhaps you didn't want to, or did you? How did that come about? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, basically, I was enjoying producing and writing, but Jim Rodford was a far superior bass player to me. And of course, he was Rod's cousin and introduced Rod to rock and roll by playing him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a natural thing for Jim to be in Argent. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't upset by it at all.
No, well, clearly, like you say, you've stayed friends throughout that period, through the Zombies breakup, and then moving on and working together again, and here you are still all these years later. So,
yeah.
So kind of moving on to the Argent subject, and it's funny because my first question you've kind of already answered, because I know about the turning up to the gig, and I thought it was the Unit 4+2 when they turn up. So was that the first time you met Russ Ballard? Was that the first time at that gig?
Yes, I'd seen him because I remember him doing a song with the Roulettes, and we'd seen him doing things, but the first time we'd actually met him.
Right.
And we were very embarrassed because we'd come to steal their drummer and guitarist.
Well, he when we did a Christmas special for the listeners with Russ himself, and he said that you took him away and played him all the demos that you've made for the first Argent album, and it blew him away. You said what fantastic writers you were, etc.
He's the greatest, one of the greatest English songwriters.
She was waiting outside the door. Since you've been gone, I'm out of my head, can't take it. Your love has gone anyway. I know there's something going on. I surrender. I'm giving up the role of pretender. Oh, be tender, go be tender.
He's not bad, is he? He's not bad. But we'll come to that. We'll come to that. He's written a couple of songs, you know. Yes, yeah.
Well, he wrote some good tunes.
Yeah, one or two.
Chris, did you know straight away how successful Russ would be someday after seeing him?
It's actually working with him, you begin to get the character, you get the feeling of a character, and he was always going to be creative, always trying new things. He and I tried to write some things together, and I remember going up to see him years later, and he took me out in his car to play cassettes of choruses he'd had or verses he'd done, and just an unfinished thing to try we did try to write a couple of things, but it didn't actually work out because we strong songwriters in our own rights, you see. And he could write words and write everything, so it didn't work out. But I'm still friends with him.
This is so funny that you just mentioned this. One of our top questions would have been, did you ever write a song together with Russ?
Yes, I did one, but we've lost it in the years since. But I think my
What
son,
a shame.
my sons, I found 800 tapes in my mother-in-law's attic, which from the 60s and 70s onwards, which obviously we're using now, putting out. But I'm waiting for them to find this song I wrote with him. I don't know where it is.
Wow. we'd love to know
How?
that.
So fingers crossed you will find it.
Yeah.
That would be a great that would be a great find.
It's funny, just on that, Sven, because you've asked about Chris writing with Russ. We've also asked Russ, did you ever write with Rod? And it was only that there was a song on, I think, one of the early Rod and Colin albums called A Girl Like That, which they wrote together.
A girl like that could always see right to the heart of everything I try to be. And when I'm
the 10cc thing, with 10cc you had 4 songwriters and they kind of like mixed up and diversified. It's a nice word, isn't it? They diversified, and you'd have, the commercial guys like which is basically Eric and Graham in 10cc. Then you'd have Lowell and Kevin, who are the kind of crazy, just off the wall stuff. And you put them together and you had this great mix. I don't know what that would have worked in Argent, but it seems a little bit of a shame.
I don't think so, because they are all such strong characters themselves and strong ideas. Sometimes quite different, but I don't think I've tried working with other people, and usually it's a lyricist or someone's written. I write lyrics for somebody or chords or melodies for somebody, but you don't know who you can write with. You can appreciate what they do, but it doesn't work. In fact, I had lunch. We had lunch with Russ a couple of years back, and he suddenly said, "You're a poet, really. Your lyrics are so like a poet." And it's the first time he's ever said that. So it was quite an accolade from Russ, basically.
Right.
Because he writes such commercial songs. I mean, ridiculous.
He does. But I think the good thing about, and for those of you that have not heard the podcast with Russ, have a listen to it. It's still available on all the main platforms. But he talks about the fact that he's forever evolving. And if you listen to his latest stuff, there's some ballads on there, the occasional ballad, but and some hook lines, obviously classic hook lines. But he's really experimenting. Perhaps been influenced by Christian, his son, as well. Yeah. And he's not doing the stuff he did in 1985. No.
It's funny because one song we did with him with Colin was "I Don't Believe in Miracles," which is a great song. And he always said, no, I should have done "I Do Believe in Miracles." He always thought that should have been a positive song.
He's still trying to get things better.
Yes.
But back in the days, the stuff he wrote for Colin is amazing, and it suits Colin. That's it.
Very much so. Yeah.
It suits
his high voices.
Yeah. It suits his voice, and it's amazing. I would say it's magical.
Well done, Sven.
Well done.
That's good. Excellent. Love it.
It's magical. Chris, what is your favorite Russ Ballard song?
I think "I Don't Believe in Miracles," to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I love doing that because he's got so many songs. Come on, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, it's 300.
It's funny, actually.
Something he wrote. Dave Williams, our newsletter Dave, once found out it was over 300 songs he has written, recorded, and released. Plus, I think 10,000 song snippets on his phone.
Yeah.
So better watch out for his phone.
And I think "I Don't Believe in Miracles" is a popular answer because that was JV's answer to when he was on the show. JV said,
"Indeed, yeah,
don't believe in miracles." I think, and I think also Mod Rogan. I can't remember too many of the other guys. So
many people say that "I Don't Believe in Miracles" is the best Russ Ballard song. Really, I hear this answer so many times. And you remember the evening with Russ Ballard in 2016 in London? He played a wonderful version of it on stage.
He did,
yeah.
Couple of quick fire questions for you, Chris. What's your favorite Argent album?
Oh, yeah, I think the first one, guys.
Okay.
I'm getting old now. I'm trying to remember the name.
It's basically a lot of people say "Ring of Hands," and I know that Jim Rodford, that was his favorite album, "Ring of Hands." Obviously, "All Together Now" was the one where you're all on the cover, including a very young Steve Rodford.
Yeah,
very young. And then I think "In Deep," which is probably my favorite, only because of, not just because of "God Gave Rock and Roll," but I think "It's Only Money" is just mind-blowing track. But that's just me.
It's very funny. God Gave Rock and Roll is also a great song. And I always remember who's the Yes lead singer. I saw him on an interview once saying, yes, he wrote this song. And it really annoyed me because it's Russ Ballard's song.
I know. It doesn't seem to annoy Russ. If it does, he hides it very well.
Paycheck. It
doesn't. Yeah, there is that, I suppose, albeit kind of the sharing of the paycheck. But even so, but yes, it annoys me because I just think, listen, mate, without Russ, you wouldn't be anywhere near that song. But anyway, He's a nice guy. They get on very well. So it's
Good.
Mr. Simmons and Mr. Ballard.
I agree with you, Ian, that In Deep is the best Argent album ever. And as we learned, it was Elton John's favorite record back in the days.
Really?
Yeah. Russell told us the story, but in terms of best song on the album, very sorry, Ian. It's Only Money is a good pop rock song, but the best song on that album is written by Chris White. Who else? Losing Hold.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
What an epic track.
It is epic. Yeah.
Yes.
It was always the track towards the end that I'd be playing very loud, and my mum would come to my bedroom and knock on the bedroom door and say, "Turn that bloody music down." Because it was that solo, that organ solo just sort of went on as though you. So yes, but Sven and I, it's interesting, Chris, because Sven and I, we used to agree on everything, but we got a little bit of surprise, a bit further on where we're disagreeing about one of your songs as well. So we're going to give you more on that very, very soon. While we're talking about In Deep, there's a quadraphonic version of that, which originally came out on vinyl, and now you can get on CD. Well, it's an enhanced disc which you put in. If you've got the right equipment, you can hear the quad version. Were you involved in that, Chris?
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh,
yes.
tell us more about it. It sounds fantastic.
Unfortunately.
Rod and I had a production deal with CBS in New York. One of the people who was doing classical music said, "You've got to hear this. This is quadraphonic." And we went in his living room, and he had 4 speakers. And he had a piece that was recorded in Venice. It was I've forgotten who, it was a classical piece. It sounded absolutely incredible. But we didn't realize at that stage, this was from the tape, and they wanted to put it on vinyl. And when you do it on vinyl, you can only have a 3 dB difference with each speaker. And it had to be quadraphonic, compatible stereo, compatible mono. And if you played it on a mono machine, anything that was in the middle of the back there disappeared. It was such a complicated thing. And so we had to sit in this room like this now, with someone just sitting beside me, in front of me, and Rod behind me, listening to these 4 speakers, trying to mix this thing in quadraphonic. And I don't like quadraphonic, never have done, because if you're in an audience and there's quadraphonic speakers and you're sitting one at the back of the left in the balcony, all you hear is that speaker. I really am a bit more back to mono, really, because I think that's where the essence is.
Well, all I would say is, from where I sit, I think you were so far ahead of your time. If you think about now, people are paying lots of money for the Beatles' White Album Special Edition in 5.1, which I know is not quadraphonic, but equally, people and Pink Floyd and those kind of albums, and a Dark Side, listening to that in 5.1 is so. Obviously we love to hear your opinion, but don't beat yourself up too much, because we thoroughly enjoy listening to that work you put in. I can assure you.
Thank you. It's interesting that you mentioned Pink Floyd, because when we were recording Colin in Abbey Road, one track we were doing, I've forgotten which it was, the arranger said, I'd like to play keyboard here, and we didn't have an M1 or anything. So Pink Floyd were in Studio 2. So I calmly went in and said, "Have you got a I've forgotten what? Yeah, it's a Korg. Have you got a Korg?" And he said, "Yeah, you can borrow that." I said, "How much do you owe you?" He said, £1 million. Anyway, they just lent us the keyboard which Chris Gunning used when we were recording Colin. So it's a coincidence that you mentioned Pink Floyd.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing
Indeed, Sven. Amazing indeed. And with that, we are at the end of the first part of our podcast with Chris White. There's more to come, don't worry, and there's lots more to come, isn't there, Sven? But we had to stop it somewhere so that it didn't go on too long for our listeners, and
we have to stop here. We have to stop here.
Yeah. But we've got, I mean, in part 2, we're really going to start talking about the Chris White experience and the new album, the Sparrow album, the Lost album, that is just been made available via the chriswhiteexperience.com. Sven, give us one of your adverts, will you, for the Chris White experience?
Okay, let's have a commercial break here. If you want to buy real cool stuff and you really want to dig a little deeper into the Chris White production, jump over to www.thechriswhiteexperience.com.
And you will enjoy the experience at the Chris White experience. God, yeah, it just came to me in a flash, Sven. Unbelievable. So in part 2, we'll be playing some more stuff from the volumes, first 3 volumes, and some Sparrow stuff from the Chris White experience. Well, lots of more great music in part 2. We'll be talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yes. But before we go today, we ought to say a quick thank you to Steve Rossi, who I spoke to and has been very influential and very kind in helping us set this up. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
And while we speak, there's all this, we've got lots of exciting future guests. I wish I could tell you who we've got coming on the show.
Shut up.
But
Shut up.
Okay.
It's a secret.
I'm going to be quiet. Sorry, Sven. Sorry. And I think before we say goodbye, just remember, this is the Voices of Russ Ballard. There is a Facebook group called the Voices of Russ Ballard. We'd love to have you along as a member. It's free. There's lots of really nice people on there to talk to, and the ability to show us your Zombies memorabilia, your Russ memorabilia, Argent memorabilia. We want to see it all, don't we, Sven?
Yes, we want. And if you don't know what to do with your time, pop over to russballardmusic.com, click on podcast, and you can listen again to all our podcasts.
Or go to all the major platforms, because we're on Apple, we're on Google Play, we're on all of the Podbean, we're on all of them. So please go ahead and do that. And I think, so for the time being, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. It's goodbye from me, Ian.
And me, Sven. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, this is Russ Ballard, and you're listening to the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast.